Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Uncensored, a Yachting International radio show. I'm your host, Marianne from Yachts Mermaids. And for today, I have on the other side of the screen Leandra, who's a stewardess, a current stewardess on the yachting industry. And yeah, let's welcome her. Thanks, Leandra, for being a part of the show today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, as you guys know, this is a very intuitive show, and what came up for us today was the word love came up for Leandra, but not in the sense of like relationship with another person, more of like I guess, your personal relationship with yourself. So we can say self love. And then for me, the word hectic came alive. And yeah, when you hear those words, Leandra, what comes up for you?
Well, it's first of all, it's pretty funny because I'm one of two South Africans on a boat with a lot of British people, and they always tease us for saying hectic in the South African accent. So that's quite funny that it came up for you. But when I think of it together, I think that the industry itself can be hectic, can be really crazy. And in this craziness, we kind of, as individuals, tend to lose ourselves. And I've personally experienced, and I've had other people who've experienced too, when you lose yourself, you struggle to show up as your true self. You struggle to be as motivated as you usually would be. You struggle to um, show up as you would if you were completely aligned with who you are and completely in love with yourself and strong about who you are. And I feel like yachting is also an industry where you can easily lose yourself when things get crazy. You know, it's easy to have a bad day and then just go out drinking, or it's easy to have a bad day and decide you're going to go off the wagon and stuff your face with food because it's comfort and it's providing you comfort that you searching from external resources. So I definitely see a relation between if it's hectic and things are crazy in the industry or on board, or maybe, I mean, every boat has drama, but there's definitely a relation between that and then how you show up for yourself.
So tell us a little bit about how have you, in your own experience, have lost that connection to yourself that you talk about, that you're not feeling aligned with your true self because of external situations that you find yourself being pulled towards to, or yeah, just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I've had it a few times where I would join a boat and I would join the boat being perfectly aligned with who I am. I had spent a lot of time on myself, whether it's doing yoga or meditating or journaling. I had a routine that I would do every day. And then when you join the boat, obviously you're meeting new people. Everyone's going to want to go out. Everyone is socializing, but there also needs to be a line between how much you can socialize and also putting yourself first. And I think I had gotten excited about socializing and getting to know everyone and also, wanting to fit in. So I started neglecting myself and the time for myself. And then I would find myself going out. I had a few drunk nights, and you'd be um, not as present as you could be the next day. And this could go on for weeks. And the more you neglect yourself, the more you become caught up in your own head, and it starts affecting everything around you. It starts affecting your performance at work. It starts affecting how you see things. I got into my own head, and I had to remove myself from the situation and say, all right, I'm going to start doing yoga again. I'm going to start journaling again. And that was the only way I could kind of calm my mind. And yeah. And then another situation, which I think happens to a lot of us, is that some relationships form on board. And most of the time these relationships I don't think are formed on the correct values. I think it comes from being far away from home, looking for comfort, looking for someone to speak to, um, looking for that affection. And I have gotten involved in the wrong relationship before because I was
Wait,
craving all that stuff.
are we talking
Again, it
like
ties into
partner relationships or friendships?
partner relationships.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had got involved with a partner relationship, and it was because in that moment my self-love was low, and my outlook at myself was quite low. So I think I was looking for the comfort and the reassurance from an external source. And this relationship, it wasn't healthy. There was a lot of fighting, and we weren't meant for each other. But obviously, you can imagine how if you're in a relationship that's constantly causing conflicts not on board, but conflict between you and your partner, it does create an atmosphere around other people or for other people. So I always think if you completely align with yourself, you are more prepared to make the decisions of what's best for you and what doesn't work for you. But those are two situations I've definitely experienced where I felt like because things got crazy, because I started neglecting myself, my performance at work wasn't showing up as it was when I maybe first joined the boat, or as I know I can fully show up. So I feel like I waffled there a bit, but I think I got my point here.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks for sharing. So my question to you, because you seem to, to have your, let's say, your shit together, right? In a sense. And
Okay.
my question is, a lot of people that join yachting are not there. They're still like kind of trying to find their way and really understand what their boundaries are, and even getting to know who they really are deep within, because they have been masking that for so long, even outside of yachting. So did you join yachting already aligned with yourself, knowing who you were, and then it was just a matter of like throughout these years that you've been part of the industry, kind of tapping into the tools that that keep you aligned? Or you came to yachting completely unaligned, and through the process of the industry and being part of the industry, you found yourself, yeah, literally you found yourself, and you kind of like recenter maybe for the first time. So how was that process for you?
I think when I joined yachting, I had just started the process of trying to find who I am. I had actually suffered an eating disorder for years, and at the the beginning of 2017, I started taking recovery a bit serious, and then I was like, okay, well, I want to travel the world. I want to make money. I don't really know what I want to do yet, so I looked into yachting, and I was on like a recovery phase, and I had entered the industry recovered, and I had felt like I had everything together. I had felt like, okay, this is cool. I've got a new job. I'm on a new career path. Like everything feels good. But then tying it into what you said about being hectic, when I joined the boat, as soon as there was a little bit of drama, as soon as there was um, the stress of the season coming up, when there was just a lot going on, I kind of pulled away from my self-love rituals, if I can call it that, and I started feeling lost again. And it kind of became a wave pattern for the last 2 years, I would go really well, and then I'd go really bad, and then I'd do really well, and I'd do really bad. And when you hit the high, it feels like you're on a wave and you're riding it, and it feels amazing. But then when you hit the low, it's really low. And I've always thought that, you know, it's taken a while to get to where I am. I wouldn't say I've got all my shit together, but I'm definitely a lot further than I was when I first joined the industry in the beginning of 2018. So it's definitely taken a lot of life experiences to get here, and going through those life experiences and just not giving up. I've had some friends that have joined the industry, and they went home after the first season, after their first week being on a boat. And it's one of those industries where it gets hard, but I've kind of seen it as an industry where it's going to throw a lot of challenges at you. It's going to throw you people that you won't get along with. It's going to throw you situations that you don't know how to handle. It's going to throw you relationships. It's going to throw you the temptation for relationships. And how you deal with that and how you show up for that is how you grow. And I think going through all of that has kind of led me to here.
Beautiful. So I have a question. Thanks for sharing, right, openly about
Yeah.
your what do you call it, eating disorder. And because I feel like
Yeah.
that is
I always
something
say,
that a lot
I
of,
always say, like, once you, sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
I always say, like, once you've gotten through something, it's your responsibility to share it so that others can realize that they're not alone and they can reach out if they need to. And I also feel like once you've shared something like this, you can't really go back on it. So it's a good way of healing. Yeah.
Totally. And so my question, so when you were talking about this, what came up in my mind, and you were talking about the highs and the lows that obviously you've been navigating, and that truly is just part of life, and we are continuously navigating those highs and lows. They may shift from time to time, right, depending on how aligned we are with ourselves and all that. But what came up in my mind was the question: when you hit low bottom and you're riding that really low sucky wave, does your eating disorder activate or anything, like in that pattern?
So I think this is what I was trying to say in the beginning, is that it's an industry where if you are riding a low, you will cling on to things that will give you comfort. So a lot of people cling on to relationships. A lot of people will go out drinking, or I know there's been a lot of drugs in the industry too. So people cling on to things that will make them feel good. In my first year, yes, I had gone back into the hole, but I also found the strength to get up out of it. And I also started realizing that when I go down, things just get worse. Because if you're going through an eating disorder, if you are becoming obsessed about food, obsessed about your weight, you kind of shift your focus from the real reason that you're actually there. So when I realized this, I was like, I can't keep doing this because my work is not at a top level. I can't keep doing this because, if you're having a crew function, you're mentally not there. Your mind is somewhere else. Your mind is thinking, oh, I don't know if I should eat that, or maybe I should, or then you start overthinking what other people are thinking. And anyone that has gone through an eating disorder or any mental health issue knows the struggles of overthinking and the anxiety that it creates and that uneasiness it creates within you. And I kind of had a moment where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want this eating disorder to define who I am anymore. And from there, I kind of just never went back. And since then, I have had a few lows, and I haven't been back. I've never been tempted. I've I have like, I do have a healthy lifestyle. I like eating healthy, and I like keeping fit and everything. So I think that also helps. But I don't obsess over food like I used to. And I think for me, the turning point was just realizing that I either have to step out now and get out now, or this disorder is going to control the rest of my life. It's going to push people away. It's going to change the way I act towards people. It's going to affect my work and my focus. And for me, that was a realization where I had to say, it's time to pull your socks up and start focusing on things that are actually going to get you further in life.
Thank you. And so, as you're talking, another thing that came up for me was, you said that you made obviously the conscious choice of getting out of the rut and be like, nope, I know where I'm at. I'm catching myself. I'm not going there. I'm getting out. Now, that's easier said than done, right? And my question to you is, what did you actually
Absolutely.
do to get yourself out of that space? Like, what did you physically, what actions did you actually, like tangible actions you actually took in order to not continue to go down the spiral and actually pick yourself up and get out of it?
So in the moment, as far as I can remember, if I felt an urge coming on where I wanted to turn to food for comfort, I would put on my music, and I would have a shower, and I would dance in the shower. And just like, I'd put on feel good music, and um, I would perhaps call a friend. I would, if I finished my first portion of food and I felt like I was just going for seconds because it was comforting, I would excuse myself from the table and I'd go call a friend back home. I'd call my mum. And something that also helped me is that I always confided in someone. And this can be tricky, because if you're going to open up to someone about something like this, you want it to be someone that you can trust. And fortunately, I've had a good friend on board who I was able to confide in. And it's also like, once you tell them about it, you kind of feel like you don't want to let them down as much as you don't want to let yourself down. Sorry, the screen is frozen. Are you still there?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hi. Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. So it's always good to confide in a friend. And can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes. Yes.
And once you confide in a friend, it's kind of like, you kind of feel this energy that someone's watching over you in like a loving and caring way. So for me, it made me not want to give into it. And the friend would always say, like, are you okay? If I went for seconds, they'd be like, are you hungry, or are you anxious, or how are you feeling? But they never did it in a way that made me feel guilty. Like, why are you asking me if I'm going for seconds? Or so you kind of, when you confide in someone, you have to explain it to them. And yeah, that's kind of the three main things that got me through it. Is just basically, an eating disorder is a bad habit that can be unlearned. It's the same as smoking can be unlearned. It's the same as people who turn to drinking. and obviously there's other addictions out there. And it's kind of, I think I kind of got out of it by replacing one habit with another. And the other habit I replaced it with was focusing more on myself, whether it was going to read a book, phoning a friend, going to do yoga, going for a run. Sometimes I'd even help by just, posting something on social media. Like I'd post a positive message, because that alone allows me to get out of my negative thought pattern and onto paper, and then it just shifts my energy. I do want to say though, like in yachting, I think what makes it difficult is that everyone can feel alone, because everyone's away from home. They're away from their best friends, and they're away from their support structure. And I think I struggled with this in the beginning. And I'm someone that trusts very easily. So I like to think that I had opened up to a lot of people, which I don't regret. But I think a lot of people are too scared to open up, because they don't know how the other person's going to react. They don't know if the other person will understand. And something I kept having to tell myself was that it's me against the world. And it kind of got me through everything. It's, you can only take control of your life. You can only take action in your own life. People can advise you, people can support you, people can motivate you, but you can physically only take that step. So that really helped me too.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just repeat what I gather, which is, the three top things that really got you into that, getting out of that rut, was shifting your energy, whether that be through
Yes.
dancing, moving your body, or whether that be, posting and journaling, and then you having a support system that you could count on. So like calling friends, calling family, and then obviously asking for help. Uh, in this case, somebody that was right there with you that could hold you accountable pretty much for, for your actions, I guess, in that sense. And to really give you that sense of, I'm not alone, and I also want to do this not just for me, but for other people, I guess, in a sense. So I mean, and this really, all these three things can translate to any habit, to anything that we really want to get ourselves out of, not just like
Absolutely.
eating disorder. And I love it, because sometimes people think that certain things that we do are attached to a certain experience that we're having, when in reality that experience is not that you're going through an eating disorder, but that you're simply not aligned with who you truly are, and you just need to get out of that, and
Absolutely.
shift that and center yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wonder, because I think a lot of females on board, and really outside yachting, but I'm just gonna pick on yachting because that's where we're at and that's who we're talking to. Most of the people I have found that one way or another have a certain type of eating disorder, whether that be mild or whether that be quite obvious. Um, and I wonder if, how do you feel about that, and how the industry either plays a role in it, or we allow what we perceive of the industry to play that role?
I think what I understood by that question was, how would we take action on that going forward?
No. So the question is,
No, did I understand that wrong?
yeah. So I'm going to repeat it. Maybe I said too much. So for me, I see that in the industry, a lot of females have some sort of eating disorder. Whether they understand that they have one or not,
Yeah.
is a different thing. But there is always some body image issue. There's always some sort of, something with food, right? And the way we look and all that stuff. And I wonder, if you believe, or what's your perspective, that on the role that yachting as an industry plays. Do you believe that yachting, kind of, what do you call it? It's almost like the perpetrator for that energy to be alive, or do you see it as it's something individual and it's not really a yachting thing, and we used to maybe, saying, putting the fault on yachting, to make us not take responsibility for what we're actually going through?
Mm. Okay, I understand. Um, so I have worked with someone um, who has also struggled with body image. I have known someone who's been fired because she put on a bit of weight. I know um, I've had a lot of agencies ask, like, we need a picture of your height and your, like, an image that they can kind of see your body shape and stuff. Um, there are boats that only hire blonde girls. There are boats that only hire tall girls. There's boats that only hire skinny girls. Um, I think the industry has unfortunately been built on image. I think it's a lot better now. I think um, people are becoming more aware of mental health issues and situations that people are going through, and how that the yachting industry shouldn't be just about looks, because it also brings in the whole sexual harassment side. There's been cases in yachting, and it's all, I feel like it all kind of ties into looks and image. But coming back to an eating disorder, um, I think something like this can stem from people's past. I know mine stemmed from my past, but I think some people in the industry could feel the pressure of not being good enough, of feeling that disappointment in themselves when they didn't get um, the job that asked them to send in a full body image. So I think that can create a lot of doubt if you're not strong enough, and if you're not on that, again, self-love level of, this is who I am, this is how I look. If you don't like me, I don't care. But I think there are a few girls that will say, why didn't I get picked? Am I too fat? Am I too short? Am I this or that? And I know a lot of people joke about weight on board. I've once had an image of a really fat lady stuck on our crew fridge, and I walked into the crew mess and I saw it, and obviously I was like, what is this real? And obviously it was meant as a joke, but I thought it was really disheartening, maybe because of the history that I've had, and it triggers thoughts and uneasiness for me. But I had just left it, and I wish I had taken it off the fridge and kind of put it in the bin so that no one else had to see it. And I mean, obviously it wasn't aimed at me, it was just a stay out of the fridge kind of note. And I think I don't really know how to answer this question, because I do think the industry does focus on image quite a lot, but I think people that go through something with body image can also have something stem from the past that keeps coming up. And I think for me, it definitely didn't help having that history, and then sorry, there's a plane going over. Having that history, and then coming into an industry where they were uptight about how you look. And I can't say it ever put pressure on me. I can't say I ever thought I need to stay in shape because I'm not going to get a job. But I know it did put that pressure on a few other people, some friends of mine. So I think that answers the question that you were asking.
I mean, I just wanted to know your opinion and your perspective on it, because I feel that yes, yachting is based on image for the most part, and it's luxury. It's looking good. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
Boats are beautiful. This crew should be the same, because the crew is the image of that vessel. But at the same time, I do, even though the industry is based on image, I feel that a lot of people put the pressure on themselves, blaming the industry, when in fact it's not really the
mm,
industry that's causing these issues for them. It's something deep within them that they haven't yet been wanting, for whatever reason, to really dig deep into, and they just keep playing the victim archetype and putting it on yachting, and because I believe
yeah,
that the outside world is a reflection of your inside world. So obviously, if you're having that
absolutely.
thing, you're going to reflect that. And those boats that are going to be asking you how tall, how small you are, those are the ones that you're going to be manifesting in a way or another. Um, so, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what is,
And
yeah, what's coming?
yeah, something I can add to that is that again it comes down to the self-love, because if you accept yourself for who you are, if you accept yourself for how you look, then whatever is going on around you is not going to affect what's happening inside. Um, but if you are being so distracted by everything going on, and if you start losing yourself, you start losing that time for yourself, it is very easy to get caught up with what is happening around you. And I must say, I remember this one specific email that had come in, and it was asking for all these body requirements and um, full body images. And at that time when I received that message, I was on a high, and it didn't bother me at all. But when I had, for example, seen the image on the fridge, I wasn't, I was at a bit of a low, and I didn't appreciate it that much. It didn't lead me to fall into a bad habit or fall into old habits. I just looked at it and I thought, this is rude, especially after one of the crew members had been fired because, I mean, there could have been several reasons, but rumor had it that she was fired because she had put on a bit of weight. And that for me is really disheartening. So again, it comes down to accepting yourself for who you are, because if you're fully content with who you are, no matter how you look, no matter how tall you are, what your body size looks like, what your boob size looks like, it doesn't matter. You will be accepted for the right job. And that right job is where you will be happy. And a lot of decisions that are made when our minds are all over the place, something that decision is not going to fully align with who we are as an individual. And I can definitely say I've learned that from personal experience too.
I love it. I think you hit the nail on the head, if I'm if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
with this. And yeah, so I kind of want to wrap this up, because we have talked a lot about a lot of
Yeah.
deep things,
Mm,
and yeah, I just want to have, I I want whoever is watching this, because if you are watching this, there's obviously a message for you here. So, when you finish this, just kind of go inward and see what's there for you. And before we make it a wrap, what are the three things that you can advise somebody to do right now to start in the journey of self-love, in the journey of discovering who they are, in the journey of you know trying to figure out whatever situation they're in right now, that rut that they're in, what's really behind what seems on the surface.
so my first piece of advice is going to be to take time for yourself. especially now with the pandemic that's going on, there is so much time. There is no excuse as to why you couldn't have time for yourself. But get into a routine, whether it's you wake up an hour earlier, you can meditate or journal, do something that will allow you to be still with yourself. I find journaling helps because it allows me to get all my thoughts on a piece of paper. And often when I go back and read that, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I even thought that. That was so silly. Or sometimes you'll write and the answers you're looking for will come through your own words on paper. Um, in that time with yourself, I would advise that you move your body, whether it's 20 minutes a day or 30 minutes a day, whether it's yoga or doing a workout on board. Um, by moving your body like that, you release endorphins, and it really helps you shift that energy that we were speaking about. So my first piece of advice is put that time aside for yourself. Learn to say no. Learn to say, this is my time. I can hang out with the crew later. My second piece of advice is, when we start doubting ourselves, a lot of anxiety comes in. And anxiety is basically when you're living in fear of what's going to happen in the future. So my second piece of advice would be to turn that fear into faith. And I always tell myself, if you think of that fear feeling you get, try shift it in your mind that it's not fear, it's excitement. And then think, well, what am I excited about? And it shifts your energy to think of something positive. And that's just shifting your fear to faith. And it's believing that, again, coming into self-love, that you are worthy and that whatever is meant for you is going to happen in the future. And then I think the third piece of advice would be to get still with yourself. And when I say still with yourself, I mean start looking at things in different perceptions. So it's almost like removing yourself from situations to look at it from the outside before you react, before you make a decision, before you act impulsively. An example is that you could be having a fallout with a crew member on board. You could then start doubting yourself. You could start thinking, well, what's wrong with me? What have I done wrong? And instead of, taking actions to try find the answers, rather sit back and think, okay, you know what, we're not getting along right now. How can I change this? I can't change it right now, so all I can do is step back and say, well, maybe I can learn how to be tolerable. Maybe I can learn how to be patient towards this person. And basically just removing yourself from situations, and again, trusting that everything is happening for you. And you just have to choose to see that it's, you can learn from an experience rather than, like, think, what is this experience trying to teach me, rather than why is this happening to me. So those are definitely the three pieces of advice. But the fourth piece I'm just going to add is that have fun. When you have fun, your energy shifts and you send off high vibrations. And just by doing this, you feel light and you feel, I don't know what the word is, but you just feel a lot better. And just by having fun, you've shifted your focus from stressing about the whole self-love, do I love myself, am I good enough? And you just focus on something that you enjoy, whether it's drawing a picture or whether it's laughing with the crew, or just allow yourself to really have fun and be fully present in life right now. Because a year from now, you're going to look back and think, where has my time gone? What have I done? Have I enjoyed where I am now?
Thank you so much. That's absolutely, yeah, that's just great advice. And so to repeat yourself, um, move your body, set time to be with yourself, whether that be journaling, whatever it is that you want to do in order to just kind of like let it all out and just be. and in that space learning to say no so you can really take the time to be with yourself. Like you said, moving your body is very important, whether that be yoga, workout, whatever it is that you want to do, like even surfing, whatever it is. And then you talked about, what else did you talk about? You talked about removing yourself, but before you remove yourself, what were you talking about before that?
Well, you're making me second guess myself now.
I know that you talked about basically being with yourself, moving your body, removing yourself from the situation and being objective of it, and asking yourself, what's here for me, rather than say, why is this happening to me, right? Like victim archetype gone, and really that creator hero archetype in. And then obviously having fun, because like you said, is when you have fun you feel good, and when you feel good you're loving yourself. So, and everything just shifts, and you basically manifest everything that you really want when you're feeling good from that vibration. And I know I'm missing one, and I can't remember what it was.
It is the turning your fear into faith.
Oh,
and just not
right.
Yes. Not stressing about what's going to happen tomorrow or what's going to happen in half an hour, but just trusting that whatever's going to happen is for you.
When you allow yourself to have fun, you really shift from that fear mentality and that fear. And I love that you said, see your fear as excitement, because honestly, literally, it feels the same way. Whether you're excited or you're scared, it feels the same way in your body. So you can really trick your mind, because your body, whatever you tell your mind, your body's going to listen to. So if you are thinking that you're scared, then obviously you're going to believe you're scared. But if you're telling yourself, oh yeah, I am excited about this, then it's going to shift. So awesome. Thanks so much.
Even if it's, no, you're welcome.
I didn't know how it was all going to turn out, but it turned out better than I even had expected. And I want to just, celebrate you and honor you for sharing your life story, and because I know that takes a lot of courage and an open heart to be vulnerable. So thank you for that. And before we go, is there anything else you want to say?
No, I think, I wish someone had told me in the beginning when I first joined the industry to have fun and don't let little things stress you out, because things that stressed me out when I first joined the industry, people that stressed me out when I first joined the industry, it's all in the past and it doesn't affect anything that's happening today. So you just have to learn to be present.
There you have it, guys. Have fun. And that's it. It's a wrap. Thank you for joining us today. And if you want to get in contact with Liliana, all the information is below this video. So you can follow her on Instagram, and you can contact her and email her, because I know that she's available if you guys need support. I'm pretty sure she's there for you. So that's it. See you later. And I'm Marianne from Yachts Mermaids, your host for a Yachting International radio show, Uncensored. Take care.